Hey, what's up everybody? This is Barn on 11970. Thank you for watching my video. And as they say, the 12th time is the charm. So let's hope if you're watching this now, it actually is true. Oh, gotta love this computer. Alright, anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the gold and silver stackers out there and why we really don't need to worry. I see people panicking. I see other people trying to get out of their precious metals, their physical metals. I even see people talking about getting into real estate, which is a decent idea if you have the right timing. Most of you don't know that I actually used to work in a real estate. I used to work for Century 21. I was a real estate agent back in the early 90s. My mother, who is still a real estate agent today, as a matter of fact, she's a broker, has been a real estate agent since the late 80s and actually owned her own real estate in the early 2000s before she sold to move down to Florida. So I have a lot of family that are in the real estate business, so I know a lot about real estate. Now, it's all about timing when it comes to real estate. And one of the things people have to realize about real estate right now, the reason that it's stable and maybe even rising just a little bit is because of the fact that people can get mortgage rates for the lowest that I've ever seen. Then I've heard of people getting under 4% for a mortgage rate. So a lot of people with money who are trying to flip a house and try and make some profit are doing so, or even if they have to hold on to it for a little while, at those rates, it's very affordable to do so. So that's what's keeping the housing market stable. But people have to realize the Fed is not going to keep interest rates almost at zero forever. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they've told you. I don't care what they guarantee. They're not part of the United States. They can do whatever they want. And if we know anything about the government, they don't exactly say everything that they mean and mean everything that they say. They tend to be a little bit of about a bunch of liars. We all know that. So we can't really trust them just because they said, oh, well, it's set for the next couple of years. Well, just because they said that doesn't mean that's going to happen. So what's going to happen is if you see them finally getting to the point where they have to raise interest rates, you are going to see the stock market start to crash. You're going to see people getting out of the dollar. You're going to see the housing industry not plummet, but it will definitely continue to go down. The reason being is when the interest rates start getting higher and people, when they try and get a loan for a house, end up with 18, 19, 20, 25% interest, and you can't say that's not impossible because that happened back in the 70s. Well, the only way that they can compensate is by lowering and depreciating the value of the houses. So if you're thinking about buying a house right now, I would be very careful about that unless you have some golden opportunity or you have something that you know will turn around and make you a quick profit right away. Like, for example, if you're buying a foreclosure. Things you have to realize about real estate is, first of all, it's not like gold and silver coins. You can't just pick it up and move it. This is something that's stuck where you buy it. You also have to remember that especially if you're sitting on that property, you're going to be paying taxes, you're going to be paying maintenance fees, and every time the government borrows more money, they find another way to add another kind of tax or another kind of fee, and they add it a lot of times to property values. So you're going to be spending a lot of money. So unless you have a lot of money, or again, you have something that you could turn around for a quick sale, very dangerous right now. So I would hold off on real estate for at least another year because the best time to buy a house would be when the Fed actually raises the interest rate because it's going to lower the property values and you're going to be able to buy it much cheaper. So if you're buying now and you're holding on to them, expect to lose a lot of money that you've invested right now, unless again you have an amazing property where that doesn't go into play, like if you have a beachfront property or something out in the Hamptons, for example. But this is why you don't have to really worry about gold and silver. Now I'm talking physical gold and silver because I've always preached long term, and long term doesn't mean a week, doesn't mean a month, it doesn't mean a year. It means probably for the next 3 to 5 years you want to be holding on to it. If within the next 5 years something hasn't happened, by that point, by all means, get out of that and you'll make a nice profit. But you don't want to rush things. And I've always said people have, like I always say, the drive-through mentality where they want everything instantly. And it just doesn't work that way. You have to understand that in 1971, Richard Nixon convinced the entire world to go off the gold standard. So since 1971, we've been printing dollars backed by nothing. And they're printing it like it's going out of style. And that's why you notice people like China, Germany, all these other countries like India, etc., they're all starting to really start digging in and buying gold, buying food investments, water, oil, natural resources, and commodities. And they're getting out of the dollar. And that's very dangerous because then it's just not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And there was an analogy I want to use that I had in the video before it got cut off. So you have to think of the economy like people in a hot air balloon. When you have that balloon on the ground and it's starting to rise, it slowly rises up as far as it needs to go. But let's just say when you get to the top of wherever you are, somebody pulls out a gun and shoots a hole in that balloon. Well, guess what? Big enough hole, it's going to come plummeting down back to the earth. It's going to be a lot faster than it took to get up there. So that's what you have to think about with the economy. It's going to be stable for a while. There's going to be little ups and downs. But that's because they're trying so hard to, every time there's a problem, they dump another couple of billion and trillion dollars into the economy to keep it going. It's putting it on life support. But like anybody on life support, it's just a matter of time before you see that flat line. So you don't want to be one of those people that gets out of your physical holdings only to find out that now it's 10 times more expensive and 100 times harder to get. Because you see, every time there's a little bit of a panic, all of a sudden you see things start to rise up almost instantly. That's what's going to happen. So you don't want to be one of those people that thinks, all right, I've been listening to all these people on YouTube, I've been listening to the mainstream media, I've been listening to the government, and they're saying that I really shouldn't hold on to my physical metal, so I'm just going to give in and I'm going to get rid of them. And then all of a sudden, 6 months from now, all of a sudden you see the Fed, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's say the Fed does decide it has to raise its interest rates. And all of a sudden you see the stock market plummet, and all of a sudden you see countries starting to really pump out of the dollar. And then all of a sudden you start seeing housing market drop. You'll see those precious metal, especially gold, will rise very quickly. And we've seen that gold and silver do tend to follow each other. So gold is definitely going to protect your wealth, but silver will definitely make you wealthy if you get in at the right time. So you really want to be careful about this. I know there's a lot of emotion in this, and believe me, take it from myself, who's had videos where I've overreacted in the past. If you base things on emotion, you tend to do the wrong thing. So I'm very serious about my gold and silver as a protection against these potential collapses. So we have to really realize what's going on here. The government, if you want to trust them, if the government's done nothing but good things for you, if the banks industry has done nothing but good for you, if you've got nothing but positive advice from the mainstream media, then by all means, get out of gold and silver, because then you really, I don't know, you might be the luckiest person in the world, but that's not the world most of us live in. We know that there are crooks. I mean, look at the LIBOR scandal. Look at what's HSBC. They got caught almost red-handed with money laundering, and nobody goes to jail. They don't punish their own. So they don't care about us. They pretend to care about us. You know, it's like a person that has livestock. You're not going to feed your livestock gourmet meals and go overboard trying to take care of them. No, you're going to give them just enough so they can be healthy enough so you can turn around and slaughter them for a profit. But you're not going to starve them to death. But you're not going to go bankrupt making sure that your cattle or whatever your livestock you have is well taken care of. You're going to give them the bare minimums. And that's what the government's doing for us. And we have to realize, guys, answer this question, or tell me if you agree with this question. Do you think the governments should take care of the people? If you say yes, then guess what? You are agreeing with fascism, because that's what fascism is all about. It's definitely not capitalism. So if you're afraid to stick in gold and silver in the physical market for the long term, then, get scared out of the market. You will regret it someday. because they are buying up gold, and I'm talking about countries, like there's no tomorrow. And if you want to listen to the average person on the street, that's fine. If you want to get scared out by somebody because they decided to get scared out, that's fine. I tend to listen to people that have multi-billion dollars invested in things, the people that make a lot of money, the true capitalists out there. And they are all into physical gold and silver. And I would rather listen to them than the average person in the world. So trust your own instincts. But I can see the writing on the wall. Now, it's like blowing into a balloon. You know eventually it will pop, but you never know the exact second it's going to happen. So many people say, oh, well, how come the collapse hasn't happened yet? Well, first of all, be very happy about that. Because if there is a collapse, you're probably, if you can even be lucky enough to get gas, probably cost you about $10 to $12 a gallon. If you're lucky enough to get food, bread will probably cost you $20, $25. So let's not really hope for these things too quick. There's going to be a lot of problems coming out of it. But we have to understand that if you prepare for things, it helps you. If you don't need it, then you can get rid of it and make a profit, because now instead of spending that money on beer or going out to clubs or a bunch of shoes or whatever, you put it into real money that you can turn around and get your wealth back. So how do you lose? So just think long term and don't worry about all the people trying to scare you out. Trust in your government to know that they will screw you over. They've done it so many times. So if you want to believe them and you want to live in that perfect world and think the economy's fine because it hasn't collapsed yet, then get out of it and don't complain when you can't get back in or it costs 10 times more. All right, guys, I'm sticking with physical gold and silver, whether people agree with me or not. Because you know what? Ultimately, I'm not here to satisfy anybody out there. I'm doing it for me, and I give my advice for people who want to listen. And even the people that want to make fun of me and whatever they want to do, here's the beautiful thing about it that really made me think about this today, is they may not like me, they may even make fun of me, but you know what? They're talking about me. And you know what? Somebody like, for example, the Velvet Cult, if it wasn't for the fact he was making fun of me on his videos that he does, I wouldn't even know he exists, nor do I really care. So it is, I mean, how many people actually knew who he was before I actually even mentioned him? So, give him a little free plug, because obviously he needs me to have people go to his channel. So I look at it that way. Imitation is a form of flattery. So I need to be more appreciative of that kind of stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to quit this before it stops on me. Keep your stacking. Don't worry. Think long term and pay attention to what the government and especially what the Fed's doing. Because if you know them like we do and we pay attention, know your enemy, you can count on them to screw everybody over, but not us who prepare. Peace.